One of the last things we need to do on this restoration is clean up these knobs. It's kind of hard to see it on the screen, but I've run it through the ultrasonic cleaner a couple times and there's still quite a bit of dirt embedded in the grooves on the knobs here. So I'm going to use this dental pick here and kind of clean those up a little bit. The other thing that we'll have to do is this is the knob off the CW pitch, and you can see the apron on it's cracked there. I've got another knob here off of another S38, and go ahead and clean that up, and then we'll make a reproduction off of that knob. So I'll go ahead and use the pick to clean that up, and then I'll run it through here maybe another 5-6 more times, and they should look good as new. Hey, there's the sound of the ultrasonic cleaner doing its work. When I use that pick, I'm not actually scraping it completely clean. I'm basically just loosening it up a little bit so that the ultrasonic action can do its work. It's kind of what we do when we're doing media blasting. Sometimes you have something that won't come off of the piece, and if you just scratch it a little bit, it gives the media enough something to grab onto to remove the paint or whatever, grease or whatever that's on it. And that's what kind of the same thing I employ here on the ultrasonic cleaner. Here we're cleaning and reinstalling the dial cover. The lens cover is kind of scratchy.
What does that mean?
or send it back to Arthur, and he can decide if he wants to replace that. I did find a place where they sell these. So, okay, next step. We've got to reproduce this. Now, I think this was originally one piece of cardboard, but I think it delaminated itself. What we're going to do is I've got some cardboard, it's thinner, or just layer it together and then glue it. But first I have to cut out the dimensions here, but this pattern's not going to line up, so I have to figure out how to line that pattern up with the new screw holes in the speaker. So we'll do that next. Okay, next step in our restoration here is we have to remake this. This goes in there and then the speaker goes on top of it. Well, obviously part of our problem is, since we're replacing it with a different speaker, I've got to change where the mounting holes are for the speaker. This particular one, they attempted to put a hole in here and put a telescoping scoping antenna, and so they cut this out. So what I did is I went down and I got some black framing mat, and then I have a piece of black construction paper. What I do when I put those together like this, it's about the proper thickness of the old mat there. And then I got some multi-purpose spray adhesive. So first thing I do is use that adhesive to stick that there, or stick them together, and then I put this in my paper cutter, trim that so they match exactly. And then I thought what I'd do is I'd probably lay this across here, get it about where I want, and press down on it a little bit on those screws so it makes an indentation, so then I know where the speaker's at, and I can cut a hole for the speaker and cut out for the screws there. So I'm going to go ahead and do this gluing offline here, and then we can take the next step after that. Alright, we have our piece of cardboard or whatever glued together and trimmed off. So the next thing we're going to do is try to position our speaker mounting lug holes. So I'm going to just try to press those here a little bit. Okay. All right. So based off of that, what I'll do next is I'll take a piece of this scrap paper here, trace around it, cut it out, and try to
try to make my layout so I can position over that, and then I'll mark it. And of course I only really want the part of the cone cut out on that. So now I have to figure out how to draw that circle. It's about a 4 1/4 inch circle. So let me do a little figuring on that, and we'll come back here in a minute. Okay, here's what I came up with. First I laid the speaker over the holes, got it lined up, traced out my mounting holes there. And I realized that the old pattern, it's 4 1/4 there, so on the construction paper I drew out a 4 1/4 inch blank, centered it between those mounting holes, drew around it. Then for the mounting tabs here I used this pair of tweezers, the end of a pair of tweezers. It's about right size. So next step, I've got to go around with the X-Acto knife. I haven't quite figured out any better way to do it. Go around with the X-Acto knife, cut that out, then cut those tabs out, and then we'll lay that in there, and then we can mount the speaker. So let's see if my steady hand can do this. I'm going to go around once first, carefully, and cut it out, and then I'll make it deeper. I'm going to go ahead and get the center part cut out first, and then come back and cut the tabs out. Alrighty then, I got the board all painted, placed in there, putting the speaker back in. Now originally this model had a regular nut. Later on they started using some nuts kind of like these. I'm not sure if you can see it. I went ahead and used these, and the main reason I did that was when I powder coated the case, normally I've got some heat resistant tape, and I'll wrap any screws, anything with threads, I'll wrap so that the threads don't get powder coat on them, because once that powder coats on those threads, it's almost impossible to get it off. Well, in my haste when I was doing the powder coating, I forgot to wrap these screws, mounting screws. Yep. So I decided to go to these because they're cut through that powder coating, and they actually hold really well. So there's the speaker mounted and completed. There it is from the top. Looks really good. That came out really well. So next step, I'm going to clean up the bench, and then I'm going to cut the plastic off of here, mount these to the speaker wires, so that in the future, if anybody has to do any work on these, they don't have to. It'll be a lot easier to get the chassis in and out. I'll go ahead and cut the blue off and wrap it with heat shrink so it looks better. Down here, when these came out on all these, they have a little piece of tape here, and I think this one actually had some over here. It was kind of a cloth electrical tape. I'm going to go out and see if I can find some of that instead of using the newer PVC electrical tape. And so I get that taped in, and I think I have to extend the wires to put these on to make them reach, or do that. And I'm going to touch up some of the tubes on the chassis, and then the next step will be putting it all back in the chassis, putting the bottom on, putting the new back that we've secured for it on it. And then the last two things that we have to do are remake that knob, and then my daughter's going to make the new label for the bottom, and we'll put that on. Then we'll do a test run of it, make sure everything still sounds good on it and stuff, and then it's boxing up time and sending it back to Arthur. So next thing, I'll go run out and get some black electrical tape, and we'll continue on. When I removed the lens dial cover, it was held on with a few pieces of this tape. There's one piece there, and there. It's kind of a, it looks like electrical tape, but it's kind of made out of a cloth or whatever. I don't know that I would have needed to replace that, but this is what's called friction tape. Looks very close to it. Maybe the same stuff. I don't know. I know when I've done in houses, I've seen where rather than the newer PVC tape, lots of times stuff is taped up with this kind of tape. So I went out to Menards and bought this. It's made by GB. Probably wouldn't have needed to do it. I don't know if that was put on there just to reduce rattling or what, because these bent over tabs certainly hold it in place fairly well. But I went ahead and went and got some of that, put that on there, so that we don't have to worry about that rattling or moving in there. This cover's got some scratches on it and everything. We're going to go ahead and reuse it. There is a company out there, I haven't used them yet, that makes reproductions for these. So if Arthur gets it back and feels like he wants to replace that, he can order one of those and probably put it in fairly simply. So on to the wiring of the speaker, and then we'll start putting the chassis back into the case. Alright. Previously, when I was working on this, I had replaced this wire that goes to the speaker, and of course I didn't make it long enough. Now this wire actually loops underneath the chassis and comes back up and hooks under the bottom of the audio transformer, and I really don't want to mess with that audio transformer. So I went ahead and just spliced it here and then put my connector on it. Now this goes down underneath and connects to a terminal strip down there, so I'm going to go ahead and just replace that wire completely. So I finished that up, and then do a once over on the chassis. I'm going to go ahead and touch up the paint on these three tubes here, and then we'll go ahead and put the chassis back into the cabinet. Ran into a little problem when I was trying to put the chassis into the case. Kind of a stupid thing I did. When I got the replacement speaker for this, which is this, I measured the depth of the speaker, and this is actually lower depth than the original, one of the original speakers. However, the magnet on here is bigger. And what I didn't realize is the 35Z5 rectifier tube, when I went to go slide this into the case, would hit that magnet. Won't let me put it in. So what I've done, after messing around looking at different alternatives, went over to my radio stash and found a S38B that had this speaker on it, which was in pretty good shape. There was a couple beginnings of tears in it that I ended up patching up, but it cleaned up really nice. Now the S38B only has 5 tubes, so it doesn't, the rectifier tube's actually right here. because this has got the extra BFO tube. So what I end up doing is using these speakers. When I bought them, I bought 3 of them. I end up using those on either the S38Bs or the S38Cs. So we're going to go ahead and slide this in to the case, and we're try to finish this up so that we can move on to making the front knob.
Okay, well here we are finally. Got everything put back in the case, knobs all installed. I think you can kind of see a light there. Maybe, I don't know how it's going to come out on the video. Here's the new knob that we made for the CW pitch. Turned out really good. Yes, I'm gonna turn it around here a little bit. You can see the we got the back on it. Now the only thing that I didn't do, we got the reproduction back, but we don't have the labeling on there, and I don't have an S38 to reproduce the labeling on the back. So if I ever get that done, we'll get that to them. Now I'm going to stop this a minute and turn it over and show you the bottom. Okay, here's the bottom. My daughter recreated the label for us, and we got that in there. Here's the original one that was on there. They cut the holes out for the adjustments below. Really what you're supposed to do on that is these pop out here, and so the label comes off and gives you access to that. We even got down, there's a little bit of labeling there, so we recreated that, which was gone from there. So the label looks good. I don't age them, or I didn't age this. I figured everything else looks new. I wanted the label to look new. So I had everything put together in it, and it was looking pretty good, but I turned it on the other day when I got done with it, and there was a squeal everywhere, and I thought maybe maybe it was oscillating, or the IF stage was oscillating, and so I took everything out today and turned it on, and it was fine. So the only thing I can think of is there was something in the neighborhood causing interference, and it was picking that up and causing that squeal. So I'm going to go ahead and hook this back up to, and it was with just even a short antenna. If I put it on my loop, it would do it. So I'm going to hook this back up, and we'll see what it does on the shortwave bands now.
What do the Canadians do better than the Americans? Obviously, they do better than we do. You know, that whole thing was porn fries over.
All right, here's the broadcast band.
Without any annoying slowdowns.
This is the local KHAS station here. Obviously, it's about almost 9:15 Central Time at night. So there's quite a bit of broadcast stations we can pull in. I've got this hooked up to my 280-foot loop antenna, just one side of it. The other side goes to ground. So we're pulling in quite a few stations. We'll go to band 2. Go to band 2 and come up here. There's 5 megahertz WWV out of Colorado. Give it a second here. We come down here. That should be 40 meter band or 80 meter band for ham radio. A little bit early for 80 meters. Okay.
I believe he's the only one that can beat Hillary for real.
Earlier when I was tuning around, I could get WWV on 2.5. Okay, let's go to the third band. Recording station.
And this is a good place for you two to make a comment.
This should be in the 40 meter ham band. Kind of early for that one too. There is somebody running CW. I'm going to use the band spread. Must have lost him there. On these old rigs, it's a lot of work to pull in CW and single sideband. We'll go up, come back to that later. Now we're getting up into 14 to basically 10 meters down to 20 meters, and at this time of night that's going to be pretty dead. Yeah, that's pretty dead. See if I can pick up any CW on 40 meters again. Doesn't look like it. Go back down to 80 meters. There's a single sideband one. It's kind of weak. But I was able to get that in. Somebody's running a net there. There's somebody else replying, checking into the net. So, it does work. So this is the last installment. I'm going to double box this up and send it to Arthur tomorrow. And I want to thank Arthur and his father, Arthur, for giving me the opportunity to work on this. I hope they're happy with it and satisfied. It was took a lot longer than I thought it should have, but we perfected doing the dry transfer decals. We also ended up putting a isolation transformer in this. So got those skills worked out. And I also perfected a little bit more. Every time we do the powder coating, we get a little bit better on it. One thing on these old radios like this I want to point out, essentially down here I've got the grounding strap across those two terminals there, and then I'm hooking the ground to an earth ground from there, and then since we're running a long wire basically here, then I'm just connecting this long wire. If you were running a balanced antenna like a dipole, you would take that off and connect you connect to these two terminals here and then connect that to ground. So that was probably upside down, but anyway, thanks again for following along. Got a few new followers and I appreciate that. So until the next project, this is KB0ASQ signing out.